What happened tonight, Dan? I'm very curious.
I absolutely cannot say.
I won't tell her.
It's just that I'm not spiritually ready to confess. Somehow, not saying it preserves it from, I don't know, just preserves it.
I guess I understand that.
Dan stretched out, wiggling his toes, his increasingly expressive face in profile.
I felt frozen for so long, frozen in so many ways, and now I'm worried I thawed out too fast. Like frozen salmon or something?
Dan started doing crunches on the couch.
I need to get in shape.
Feeling old?
So old.
Poor Dan.
Dan jumped up from the floor and punched at the air, shadow boxing.
Why wasn't I an artist or revolutionary? I think about that all the time. Like, man, why did I choose to be me and not someone?
Did you choose?
I made the choices that led to me being me, the me that I am.
Did you?
I hope so.
Choosing is weird.
Akari made a funny face.
Not sure it's what humans really do.
No, I'm not sure either.
Dan said forlornly.
Absolutely. Hold on, let me take that one again so it's more forlorn. Here we go. No, I'm not sure either.
Dan said forlornly.
Dan definitely said it forlornly that time.
Yep.
I'm not sure that's what I've been doing the last 36 hours.
What would you call it then if not choosing?
Reacting.
Dan chanted, punching the air with each word.
I was doing that, by the way.
He was. Akari thought of her text exchange with Suzanne from the morning.
I empathize.
Last night,
Dan began, sitting back down on the couch.
I felt like Mari and I were really connecting again, really getting somewhere in this conversation we were having. It's like I just pressed explode on all that.
Not necessarily.
You think I could, I don't know.
Is total fidelity to truth for its own sake your goal, or having a harmonious relationship?
The latter.
Then hope that you got that out of your system, what you needed to get out, and you can return to your relationship?
I'm worried that it's not so simple.
Well, control what you can control.
I guess. I'm anxious.
Anxiety is human nature. Human destiny, bro.
No, I don't think so. Anxiety is mostly a function of a petty bourgeois mentality.
Dan explained.
Which, if I'm being honest with myself, I embody the obsessive desire to preserve small comforts and routines.
Yeah?
Sorry.
Do your thing, Dan. Be you. Talk the way you talk.
I saw a Twitter thread today about how millennials will be lonely if they give up on child rearing into their 40s. And a part of me doesn't disagree, but I can't help but wonder if the reason parenthood is the only way forward is because an urban single's range of experience has become curtailed, predictable, yuppified, and boring. Like, maybe the problem with urban millennials is not that we've not settled down, but because we've never grown up.
Honestly, probably.
Listeners, would you like a whole book of this? Well, I've got a treat for you.
Matthew Gasda asking the important questions. Is anxiety bourgeois?
You're now listening to Socialist Shelf Radio.
Welcome once again to the Socialist Shelf. We are all here. We are all healthy again. It is a wonderful, wonderful, refreshingly mild Labor Day weekend here in Atlanta. Mild, and yet, Jacob, it's cold in here.
No, it's not.
It's cold. There,
There's nothing in the
it's
atmosphere.
cold, and there must be a Dutchman in the atmosphere,
There
and that
must be.
person is Josh
There must
Boerman.
be.
Welcome back. How you doing?
You know, it is. I'm bringing the cold with me. It's nice up here too in New York. Actually, it's been nice for the past like week and a half. It's weird because usually U.S. Open, like when the U.S. Open is going on, I just associate that with it just being hot as balls, like the most disgusting heat of the entire summer. And this year, it's really nice out, which I love. I'm doing okay. You know, I was at a friend's birthday party last night. I actually it was like an actor friend, and so everybody at the party was, you know, actors. That's how it always goes. And I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me about like theater he was interested in. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw a play by this guy, Matthew Gasda. You ever hear of him?" I shit you not. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm familiar. And what'd you think?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I thought it was really good." And I was like, "Okay." I'm gonna be honest. I don't. I told him straight up because this is always how I do things. I was like, "Cool, man. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't like his writing. I think it's really bad. But I'm glad you liked it."
I would never take that away from him. Yeah.
Josh, as you've been on the show a few times, as a sign of respect, I want to give you the layup on this one.
Ooh,
This thing is called The Sleepers. How did
yeah.
reading it make you feel?
Oh, Bud, I would say it was a downright soporific.
I was gonna say I felt like I was the sleeper, but
That's good too.
that's good too. Matthew Gasda, I will say, there's a lot of downsides of living in the South, but we don't have a lot of these guys. And that
Yeah.
is one thing that we do have is like, this is a type, like the more I read about this guy, and I had been aware of him vaguely. This is a type of guy you don't really get down here. And that's the one thing we do have over y'all up in New York City. Not that we don't have pretentious people, but it is a little different. Wouldn't you say, Lenore?
I don't know. Like if I ran into this guy and started talking, like I even if I drunk or sober, you know, it would just go right by me. I would hear sounds, I would perceive these things, and I would walk away being like, "What the fuck did I just talk about? What did he just talk about?" Because he would do a lot of the talking, I feel like.
Oh yeah, but I feel like it's less to do with like what he says or doesn't say, which is to say there's a whole lot he says a whole lot without saying anything, of course. But I think the point that you're making, Jacob, and I think it's an apt one, the type of guy who thinks that they're like God's gift to art and moves to New York City to try to make it as a writer. That is a very specific type of guy. And I agree with you that you really only get those guys here.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe to a lesser extent in like, I don't know, Chicago. And then of course, like in the major global cities, obviously, like Paris is chock full of guys like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People like, yeah. Atlanta, say what you will. You maybe moved to Atlanta to do like hip hop or whatever, which is a different type of guy that's interesting that like is not our beat. But
Film maybe.
not now. Have you seen some of the news about the big cuts here in Atlanta? But that's a different conversation. Oh God, as of like this week.
Oh, are they pulling a Rick Snyder and like getting rid of a whole industry that was really, really good for the state because they don't want to spend the extra money?
Oh yeah, they're crushing it. Marvel's officially completely gone. They were shooting everything here.
Amazing.
They're done shooting a lot of other stuff. Tyler Perry's looking at new options. Oh, it's
Tyler Perry's looking at new options.
Yeah, it's not, that one's not official. I may be breaking some news here. I know some folks.
That is remarkable.
Oh, we are a ghost town. Wow.
Oh yeah, we're cooked. Anyway, but you know who's not cooked? Matthew Gasda.
I disagree.
Before I get into this bio,
he's half baked, let's say.
Lenore, do you have any history with this guy? Because I know we have a New Yorker on here who'll know more than whatever. But Lenore, were you aware of this guy or Dime Square at all?
I'm not. You know, I was definitely not online at the same time as either of y'all were, perhaps. So I don't know of a connection. All I know is that he moves in the same circles as like your Red Scare types, your like dirtbag left that eventually just like became openly reactionary. I hadn't experienced this guy's writing. Experience is not a good word for it, but This is a weird little guy that I'm very excited to meet.
Lenore, you are like a fascinating figure who's like both not online and also were paid to write for my anime list. Like, what a shocking, like you are a shocking intersection of individual as a woman, like just a unique individual all around.
I mean, I'm not going to say that like top 12 anime boobs moments are like anywhere near as profound as anything in the sleepers, certainly. But
Mm.
Mm.
we try, we try.
What about a top 10 hottest female Sonic characters? What are
Mm.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, there's an obvious number one, and it's Rouge.
Correct, yeah. It's
Josh, to
Rouge.
be
Said
clear,
that.
Lenore's not kidding. She was actually paid to write top 12 anime boobs.
That rules.
You
I
can still
love that.
find it somewhere. It's been SEO'd and edited to hell and back, but
Mhm.
it still bears my fingerprints.
Josh, what is your history with Matthew Gasda?
So I don't have a
Besides running into people at parties.
Well, that's what's interesting. So I've never run into him at a party, which is kind of surprising, honestly. But the thing about theater in New York is that as small of a world as it is, it also consists of numerous even smaller worlds, many of
Hmm.
which don't intersect with each other at all. And in the case of a guy like Gazda, the whole reason he showed up on my radar is that he has been doing a series of plays through his own theater company, which is called the Brooklyn Center for Theater Research. And the entire purpose of yes, Lenore, the face you're making is the correct reaction to have. His
Okay.
whole in self-producing your own shit is nothing new, right? Like everybody does it. You spin up an LLC or you just, do it out of your own pocket. You find a way to get $10,000 together and you put up a show, right?
Mm.
That is a tale as old as time. What's different about this guy is that he claims to be the voice of a moment as an artist. And the coverage, because I think he has a publicist. I'm assuming he has a publicist who's pretty good because he always gets reviewed in the New York Times, even though his work is just not very good, right?
Mhm.
And he always in interviews and stuff will talk about how he was turned off by the way that getting into the New York theater scene required that he write in a specifically ideological way. And he claims that he writes in a way that's just showing the world how it is, free
Mm.
of ideological encumbrances. But obviously, you have now read The Sleepers, which, I mean, I'm familiar with his plays. I haven't seen his plays, but this is a sample of his writing. And he is, in fact, a deeply ideological writer. He just tries to pretend like he's not.
Yeah. That is a great summary. And let me give you a quick bio of him. There are certainly enough profiles of the guy that I could put together a solid bio here. And that's how I knew he was originally, was because I have terminal article brain and I read the New York Times and Vulture and all that. But the Matthew Gasda, and again, I'm pulling this from Vulture, New York Times, interviews he's given on podcasts, his Substack, and his writing in Compact Mag. I experienced a lot of this guy. Born in 1989, true millennial from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, child of a paralegal and an English teacher. And he claims as a child in his interview with Vulture, his favorite book when he was a wee child was Ulysses. So that's the type of guy.
No, he wasn't.
Come on.
Unbelievable.
His first words were, "Yes." I said, "Yes, I will." Yes.
Syracuse University is where he went, got a philosophy degree, became an English teacher and tutor after moving to New York City in Bushwick. And he says he got all his success from meeting people in person. He claims he wasn't.
That's probably true.
Yes.
That's the way that New York works. So that's probably true.
He says he's not exactly a dime square guy, which dime square, for those who don't know, signed a kind of micro neighborhood in New York.
It's not even a neighborhood. It is
like gentrified Chinatown, right?
Exactly. It's a small section of Chinatown around the restaurant Dimes, and a whole bunch of people started hanging out during the pandemic around there, and then it started getting referred to first in sort of a self deprecating way as Dime Square, and then it got picked up. It's not real. It never has been real. Unfortunately, the people, though, are very, very real. And I try to steer clear of that section of Chinatown as much as I can.
Gasda describes Times Square in its art scene as capital R romanticism of intellectual performance of apolitical YOLO flanere.
Go to hell.
There's apolitical again, though, right?
Yeah.
Apolitical. Consistently stating that this explicitly political thing. We know that Peter Thiel has been funding some of this art scene.
That's right.
Because there is a vested interest by the capital class in establishing counter-revolutionary art, right?
That's right. It's interesting he would call it apolitical, and then the same interview said, I would spend time at Times Square because it was the anti-COVID hotspot. I went there because things were happening, end quote.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people were getting COVID.
Yeah. I like saying the anti-COVID hotspot, like as in it didn't exist here. Like, no, it was just a kind of a lockdown, flouting part of town, according to him. He was told after his play came out, and again, he's telling this story to Vulture, I was dubbed the Dime Square Chekhov.
By whom?
He doesn't say.
I also have that question.
He doesn't say. He just says he was dubbed it. And yeah, he puts on a play called Dime Square in 2022. It's known for like basically being screened, or not screened, but being shown in irregular venues.
Yeah, he's doing it at people's apartments.
Yeah. Like you said, managing to pull together enough money to produce before he founds his center. He also has other plays, series of it. He also has the play Minotaur starring Dasha from Red Scare. That's a whole...
she was in one of his things.
Yes, she was.
Okay.
Which is, again, before I won't get into the whole deal, but basically there's a certain group of people that were in the quote unquote dirtbag left of the sort of Bernie 2016, 2015 milieu that realized that they could have a more successful career if they became like edgy and more right wing and like get money from Peter Thiel directly.
And I don't think that it makes sense for us to spend a lot of time on like those specific people and what they did. But I do think that it's important to just note that in the wake of the failure of the Bernie Sanders campaign, there were a lot of people who found themselves with this sense of like, God, what am I going to do next? I've put a lot of effort into this thing. Or I think, as was the case for a lot of these people specifically, I have connected with a lot of people through this thing. This has been the way that I establish kind of my own identity as a person. This is also the thing that gives me a bit of a platform and a profile as a public figure because of my connections to this movement. And when, with any election campaign, but particularly an election campaign as singular as the Bernie campaign, a lot of these people then just found themselves not knowing what to do. And because a lot of them lacked real principles beyond just this broad sense of we need to do something, man, they then went on and, you know, did a hard right pivot. And obviously there are many, many cases of this throughout history. You can see it all over the place.
Yeah. Gasda in his interview with one of the New York Times says he was he doesn't identify as this, but he was experiencing a place that was having a post-ironic Catholic revival.
Oh
dear.
And yeah, I mean,
post-ironic Catholic revival is easily my least favorite music genre.
Awful. Yeah, he was hanging around this place, the Sovereign House, that was funded by Peter Thiel. By the way, Sovereign House threw a party the night Trump won in 2024, and they had it Steve Saylor speak, who's a guy whose like whole thing is quote scientific racism. Like that. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Gasda and Compact Mag, I read a bunch of his op-eds that he wrote in there. And he said, Dime Square as a concept is really just this. The idea that the internet can become a real physical place, which
that's such an original fucking thought, man. Nobody's ever thought that before.
So he his politics are like, he describes himself as like an economic populist and all of that. He's like,
everybody does.
Right. But let me read what he wrote a few days after Donald Trump was reelected in 2024 in Culture in the Age of Trump on Compact Mag. For 8 years, the American psyche was bombarded with negative, often fabricated stories about Trump. Hoaxes, out of context quotes, and conspiracy theories. Relationships ended, marriages collapsed, jobs were lost, pointless protests and cultural mini revolutions raged. Dissenters faced punishment without due process, reflecting a manic Calvinist certainty, complete with its elect, sinners, and rituals of public shame. Yet this claustrophobic, self-satisfied paradigm has now produced exactly what it feared: Trump's decisive popular vote win. This election thus
It
established...
wasn't decisive.
Yeah. This election thus established conclusively what we've known for years. Americans are tired of this progressive panopticon. It's constant watching, judging, the elimination of all skeptics and dissenters. We don't want to watch and be watched. We don't want to spend so much energy figuring out who is elect and who is saved. Then he goes on to talk about Tony Hinchcliffe's garbage joke, calling Puerto Rico a floating pile of garbage. And he says Trump won not despite of the Hinchcliffe gaffe. Trump won because of it. Because we have a fundamental shift in the American psyche. We're not fragile. And then he says hints of what people want. And again, he describes this as economic populism are present in the Trump coalition. Elon Musk, for instance, represents the frontier.
Yes. Yes, brother.
Something he and Desert Klein can agree on.
Then he says RFK Jr. symbolizes a desire to cultivate health and a rejection of pharmacological solutions. Vivek Ramaswamy, Tucker Carlson, and Joe Rogan stand for the right to ask crazy questions. These figures, all categorized as legacy media as buffoons, have all gained traction by suggesting non-elites should get involved, ask questions, disrupt the narrative. And then he goes on to say Trump is a lot like one of the greatest presidents, Andrew Jackson. Flawed, but bringing about a populist renaissance. And he finishes with, I suspect and hope 2024 is a moment like 1830, a time of transformative technology, elite failure, populist revolution, intellectuals turning towards the romance of the frontier. Neither conservative nor liberal, this model is willing to entertain both modes in contradiction, comfortable with uncertainty, self-reliant, fatalistic, but also vital and expansionary. It is essentially Emersonian rather than Nietzschean. And it
Shut up!
Be
Shut
pretty
the fuck up!
Awesome.
Essentially Emersonian rather than Nietzsche. Shut the fuck up! What do you even mean by that? What do you mean?
The last sentence is, it might be pretty awesome. So that's who we're dealing with.
Yeah, let's bring back 1830. You know, can't forget the ethnic cleansing, by the way.
Yeah, right?
And let's turn intellectuals towards the frontier.
Yeah. It's also wild to me.
Also, the slavery? Okay.
Yeah, well, and for somebody who rails against quote unquote like the elect, like running things, these people really like it's, you know, you have their sort of like 15 minutes of fame during Bernie 1, and then that political moment passes, and suddenly it's not about you anymore. These are people who want to slot themselves into an elect somewhere and believe that, you know, the landscape has just changed and there's a different elect.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that such a big piece of it is simple jealousy. Actually, it's envy, I should say. Yeah. It is straight up envy of people who they perceive as having successfully ridden the clout wave of the Bernie movement and having preserved it. By which I mean podcasts like Chapo Trap House.
Yes, it's
not even subtle. It's not even a little bit subtle about it.
As the book will no doubt hammer down on. I mean, as we realize, it is fascinating how much of these people, we like live in this like long 2016, 2017 that I feel like was broken up in 2020, 2021 and then returned. It's kind of crazy. But like how much of, in we'll get into it because of this book, how much of it is like specifically about not just podcasts like Chapo Trap House, but like the podcast Chapo Trap House
specifically, or which the podcast Red Scare specifically. Yes. Like it is not at all uncommon in theater and media more broadly to be envious of another person who you perceive as having more success than you, right? I think that Gasda's entire thing is driven by professional envy. You see this in the way that he talks in interviews about the other theater makers who he perceives as being more successful than him, and the writers that he perceives as being more successful than him. But I say perceived perceives for a very specific reason, which is that it is all perception. That yes, there are some objective benchmarks of success, right? In the case of a show like Chapo Trap House, having, I don't know, 44,000 paid subscribers, that is an objective metric of success. But there is a specific type of guy who gets so hung up on the idea that everybody else is doing better than they are. And it is impossible to ever break yourself out of that mind jail, regardless of how successful you yourself end up becoming.
That's a good way of putting it, because it comes through, and we'll get into it, but it comes through in the character work in this book, right? There's less interiority and introspection, and more like, I am reading these characters for filth every second of this
Yeah. I'm
of this
getting
novel.
them, man. I'm getting
Mhm.
their asses.
There is a hatred at the core of it. And I think the one thing that like I want to highlight one more time is this is I don't find this guy particularly interesting. What I do find particularly interesting is this kind of representative type of new conservative that sees themselves as secular and
Yeah.
apolitical. And because they say not left or right, but well, obviously it's right, obviously, in every means of expression. But it is like an interesting part of the Trump coalition and future conservative projects that will have to exist, that because obviously you have the evangelical wing of it, right?
Right.
And the post-ironic Catholic, whatever the fuck.
Right.
But you also have to have, or at least they do now, this like young, secular techno freak. And that's what like the Peter Thiels of the world are very specifically investing in.
And the thing too about people like this is that their audience will always be limited due to the fact that they are always writing in an explicitly ideological milieu, even though they claim otherwise. And because the work is simultaneously ideological and not very good, it means that it's not going to get much buy-in from the bigger world, which reflects stuff like what we've talked about on the Worst of All Possible Worlds many times.
Yep.
This weird Christian media that only exists to appeal to really sheltered conservatives who don't know what good art looks like.
I also find it really interesting when I like, given the level of publicity this guy has, how few like reviews his books and plays have
It's
on
odd.
like things like just like Amazon, like the reviews of the amount of people that actually have reviewed this book and things like that. It's kind of shockingly small.
And the reviews that do exist, at least the positive ones, seem to indicate in some cases that they didn't actually read the book.
Yep. Or we're like a friend, like
Right.
several times. Or I literally read one on Amazon where it was like, I'm friends with his mom. And I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
There's
That's
a
awesome.
bit of that. In one of his articles that got written about him in the New York Times, there's like somebody who showed up. It's like, hey, it's me, your teacher from 6th grade. You're sure doing a great job. And there's something that's, I guess, kind of sweet about that.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if that's the only thing you've got, like if you've still got your friends and family from Pennsylvania, fucking astroturfing your reviews and articles, that's a pretty sorry state if you've been at this shit for a decade or whatever.
It's a little like to be like the dark intellectual and also to like have your like English teacher be like the person that's giving you the 5-star average is kind of interesting. I think we should go ahead and get into the text of this if we don't have anything else to say about the bio here. How do y'all, Lenore, how would you frame, what is the plot of this book? What are we working with here?
Well, that's a really good question, isn't it? You have
Good, obviously.
this is one where you go and you look up the summary on Amazon or whatever, and it tells you very, very little about what actually happens. So yeah, the intersection of like 4 people's lives, and it's like, okay, but like, and I find myself there's long exchanges where I just don't know what is being said or why.
Yeah.
But the basic premise is there's a very, very thinly veiled caricature of Matt Christman and his girlfriend and the girlfriend's sister, and they're all drifting in and out, visiting each other, and just silently seething and judging at all times. At some point, the Matt Christman character has an affair with a former student of his. That goes south, and it's very like burn after reading. What did we learn at the end? Like there's nothing has been there has not been any ripple effects. Nothing has been, decided. This is a moment in the lives of four people that yeah, I don't know. I still don't know what to do with it.
What do you mean
Yeah.
nothing has been decided? A guy Gasda personally hates kills himself, and
Yeah.
that he got his ass.
That's right. Matt Crispin kills himself on the last page of the book.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was tossed off like shockingly cavalierly.
So
Mhm.
weird. This book is so weird.
It opens up with, and it's interesting because it multiple times in the like description of the book tries to like say, oh, this has the thing that got me, sparkling prose.
No, it
Let me give
doesn't.
you
No.
an example. So most of it does read like a back and forth play, as we established at the
Mhm.
top, but the prose, let me give you a little taste.
Yeah, please.
This is page 1. Akari, this is one of our four main characters, even though you see Akari like 3 times, was a cinematographer and traveled frequently, usually for commercial work, which was why she was in New York for the week. She
Oh.
made more money than she ever imagined she would make, and in a predominantly male field.
Good
The
for you.
cinematographer partied, slept around, was always on the move. Charm and talent carried her wherever she wanted to go and allowed her to eschew commitments and would gum up the machinery of experience and pleasure.
Damn,
It's just,
who says women can't do it all, huh?
yeah. And
Yeah, we're the greatest. The can we see her partying and sleeping around, please? Because like with so much of her backstory front loaded here, I expect the next page to read, "Little did she know this was the day she would die and go to hell." Like, but there is no hard
Thank
right
God.
turn out. There is no hard right turn out of this um uh bio, essentially. She's there and she's perceiving the world around her, and she does a whole lot of perceiving for the next, what is it, 20 pages or so?
She's so perceptive. I've got a excerpt here that I
Let's do
wanted
it.
to read.
Let's go.
Akari people watched. Cyclists, power walkers, bums, bros, basic bitches out for brunch, stroller dads, in parentheses, taking a call while pushing their kid through McCarran Park. There was no theory for watching people stream by into emptiness, for watching a face materialize through a car window and then disappear forever. She'd had slightly too much to drink on the red eye, but she enjoyed the feeling of being slightly delirious in New York. It enhanced the sense of cinematic blur. Her consciousness opened, almost like a pupil.
Pupils don't open.
Birds. It was almost like a pupil. Birds scampering children, rustling brown green leaves, a beautiful confusion. It was an incredible thing to be alive in New York. It was amazing that no one noticed how impossible it should be for all these pieces to add up to something like consciousness, to produce feelings like love, to produce civilization, cities, or the images of cinema. And yet they did. So this is bad, but here's the crazy thing. By the end of this book, I found myself missing
Sure.
this level of prose. It gets worse.
No, it's absolutely excruciating. Like, yeah, I find myself, I have a note right here, is this his character notes or is this prose, right? It's confusing as fuck, right? There's clauses that it's not clear, like what things refer to. There's, sentence after sentence that says the same thing, like 2 indefinite forestallments back to back. Like, it's excruciatingly repetitive and slow, and it goes on for like 30 pages or so, this first chapter, just her walking and like, whoa, man, isn't it cool that everything exists at the same time?
No one's ever thought of the fact that it's like cool that New York has a lot going on. No one's thought of that. Akari's the only person
Do you
to
know
notice that.
who's better at, I can't believe I'm saying this, but James Comey is better at depicting New York than fucking Matthew Gasda.
Yep.
And something that I find strange about this then is like, okay, and this is a thing that I was thinking throughout this book. Are we trying to make a commentary on the lack of the interiority of the characters that we are portraying here? Or is this a reflection of what the author thinks of as being somewhat trenchant observations?
Mhm.
It's unclear. And I always, whenever I read something, I always try to be generous to the work, but this just gives me very little to work with.
I felt very frustrated just dealing with the millennialness of it all.
Yeah.
Sorry, but like Akari's on Tinder. She's thinking about the Great Recession. She refers to her ex as he who shall not be named. And I was like, oh my God. She's bisexual, eat hot chip and lie.
He is. Straight up, that is her personality trait. Yeah.
Yes. She's like walking around. She was like, this is a lot like a Kurosawa film. It's like knows one Japanese director. Like,
and then she goes into like describing the Kurosawa film and how it's exactly like the situation, rather than just tossing it off and leaving us to piece together that it's so fucking like Gasda has zero confidence in us as readers to ascribe emotions or motives to the actions of his characters, to put together like metaphors that he's establishing. Like, while waiting for the signal to cross the street, Akari bit the nail of her ring finger on her right hand. A nervous habit. Yeah, when was the last time I bit my nail confidently, Matthew?
That would be kind of sick. If it is confident, you should describe it as such. Otherwise, no.
Check this out. You ready for this? I just bit my nail really confidently. That was a visual gag.
But yeah, it puts you at such a remove from what's happening here, because you're constantly immersed in the author telling you, and this is how you're supposed to read this, and this is what the character's thinking, and this is what there is no death of the author, because he's constantly there. He is a ghost in this text, and he is haunting us.
And he's constantly reminding you of his presence through just these really unnecessary flourishes. The use of parentheticals is really fucking annoying, where like a thought will be interrupted with another thought that comes in the form of parentheticals, but it's not an entirely new thought. And stylistically, a good editor would take this and be like, hey, this isn't actually a choice. This is just you having a new thought. Let's break this up, you know? There's also, I guess Akari, right? Like, who is she as a character? I think really the only big character trait she has is that she's constantly horny, right? Like, is there anything else that we end up learning about her? Not really, right?
She's horny. She's a successful cinematographer, photographer, and she is really resentful of her older sister, who's one of the other main characters.
For reasons we never really learn.
No,
like
they just had rivalry in childhood, though not really sure why.
Right.
They don't seem to have a bad relationship with their parents, aside from Akari's a little resentful that they're fake progressive and disappointed that she dates women.
Right.
Which it doesn't really interrogate, because that would be interesting.
Right.
Like Akari, I mean, like the last thing we see of her I'm not kidding, till we're 80% of the way through the book, is her jacking off on her sister's couch.
Right.
To her ex, Suzanne, who is like a,
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I was like, you forgot about the part. I was like, no, that was 80% of the way through the book, wasn't it? Fuck.
She's texting with her ex, Suzanne. Bad relationship. She's a manic pixie dream girl that's a lot younger than her. And she's like, oh, I'm so horny. She jacks off on the couch. And we do not see her again till y'all read that section that y'all read at the top. That is actually 80% of the way through the book.
Oh, and then Akari goes, hey, Dan, I jacked off on your couch. And he's like, wow, that's so hot. And she's like, oh, Dan. That's that interaction.
So sick. I think it's cool. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's good. I also want to note, before I forget, this whole thing takes place, aside from like the very end, in 2016, which continues to hammer down which is not clear until like halfway through the book.
No.
It continues to hammer my thesis that these people live in the year 2016. Their brains are trapped.
Yeah, because this book was published this year, right?
Yes, it was published this year. It's set in 2016, and I can see no reason why that's relevant, except like they throw out that the election is in the middle of happening.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. Again, it's like, you want to talk about what it feels like. I was in New York in 2016. I know what it felt like. Maybe do literally anything to explore that.
If you want to hear a good 2016 core book, go back to our Book of Form and Emptiness episode that did a lot more interesting things with it as a backdrop.
Yes, that book actually doesn't say the name of Donald Trump, but he is a looming presence over the lives of these these people who are like not white. I forget if they're immigrants in the book or not. I fucking rules. Go back to that episode.
So, Lenore, I have a quick question for you specifically, because you've written your fair share of erotic prose. This is a book that is half smut, or at least an attempt at it, right?
Yeah.
Why is it?
I wouldn't say half.
It felt like it.
Mhm.
Because it really, when it gets into it, it really wants to be. Well, actually, this is my question, right? Is this book trying to be sexy? Is it trying to get you going with the prose? Is it trying to present this like unsexiness and be like, damn, we really do live in a society?
I think you've nailed it there. I think it's presenting it's presenting these things in that like visceral detail that's also like quite deliberately, frequently scatological in places.
Yeah.
Like I think of Makers, by Cory Doctorow when we're reading some of these things, and like I'm a defender of the sex scene in Makers because like it's quantified and like analyzed and broken down like the way that all the other business ventures in the book are certainly, and so there's a reason that it's reduced to its component parts like that. But here it's there's nothing of the interiority about it. Like it's tied back again to the author putting you in a very specific frame of mind about very specific people, and you really can't put yourself in the moment because you don't fucking want to. Like I have a bit here from a lot of chapter 1 here because chapter 1's fucking excruciatingly long. She spent a lot on Suzanne when they were together. The spring break trip to Thailand, for example. That had been an incredibly erotic trip. First of all, like
Incredibly erotic, you
yeah,
say?
yeah. Like reading that, you're not led to expect. The memory was so vivid that the cinematographer could almost still feel Suzanne's gummy skin against her own, as if their bodies were entangled subatomically, as if there were no way and no hope of ever disentangling those particles, of freeing up the present for the present and the gradual unfolding of the future. And you're reading this, and you're like, you're so far removed from what this sensation might feel like. You can't be entangled with somebody subatomically. Like, if you want to write something like visceral about like, having bizarre like feelings about like, I want to devour this person alive, like to get close to them in that way. Like, there is so much of the impossible and physical that you could like dive into that's not whatever this shit is. What does freeing up the present for the present mean exactly?
Well, it's when the present is not available, so you have to free it up.
Yeah, we'll pencil in the present for Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the idea, though, of she wanted to devour her flesh. She wanted to consume her entirely. She wanted to feel her inside of her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's powerful language.
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
those are things that indicate not just desire, but intention, right? This sort of cannibalistic side of lust.
Yes.
That's something you could explore if that's what the intention is. But you need to indicate that there's something about her, about Akari. Like, what kind of horny is she?
Right.
There needs to be a specificity to her horniness, even if it's a specificity that she herself does not understand. You, as an author, can explore things that the character doesn't understand, but that requires respect for your characters,
mm-hmm.
and he does not respect any of the characters in this book.
Exactly. And like that's in the viscerality of it again. You're experiencing somebody in this way. You're hearing them, you're touching them, whatever, and you're like, okay, but what if I could hear them like this? What if I could touch them like this? What other horizon is there for us to push each other to?
Mm-hmm.
And the horizon is not subatomic level or whatever.
No, it has to be something specific because those horizons are the reason that you explore somebody else's body in the first place. That's the exciting thing about the act of sexual discovery. It's like, where can we go?
There's a lot of trans femme literature that I've been diving into lately that's like really, really good about that. The Hades Calculus by Maria Ying is good. Chapter 19 of Ranked Competitive Breast Growth has a very, very erotic dance scene that doesn't like go into any like literal physicality at all. It's just it's full of metaphor. It's full of imagery. It's fascinating. Look it up.
So in this next chapter, then we get two more characters. And one of them is Dan, who, by the way, falls into a category that Akari would describe as millennial men. Oh, she has a whole bit where she says they play video games and they jack off to porn 3 times a week.
This is like the
Damn.
inverse of Nerd Porn Auteur by Ernest Cline, right?
Yes.
Just
Mm.
the hyper awareness of like all the perceptible flaws of masculinity without anything it reads very much like Pick Me, right? Like I'm
Oh
not.
yeah, no, it's very. I'm not like the other boys,
Yeah,
for
exactly,
sure.
exactly. Mhm.
Matt Gasda, the author, is letting you know that not only is he not like the other boys, he understands what women think about those other boys.
Okay, so in chapter 2, we get into our other two main characters. There is a couple other characters, but really, I mean, I know it's the intersection of 4 characters, but because he hates Eliza, there's less to say about her.
I hate chapter two's beginning. This is such a.
Well, Mariko is in Lenore. Mariko is insecure, and I'll say this: she felt self-conscious as if someone were watching. In fact, she was watching herself.
Holy
Oh
shit!
God, I never would have put that together. I'm a lowly peon, like receiving the story from fucking, the mad prophet of Dime Square. No, but like
That would be a good episode.
well, but the
title.
opening of chapter 2 as well, like across what was left of the waterfront, Manhattan leapt and licked at the sky. Like if you just left it there, that's good imagery. I like that. But then he has to fucking go on, like a Van Gogh cypress or a city in the Bible, hallucinatory and raw. And
Yeah,
it's like,
or city. It also, to be very clear, punctuation again here. Like it is across what was left of the waterfront, comma, Manhattan leapt and licked at the sky, comma, like a Van Gogh cypress, comma, or a city in the Bible, colon, hallucinatory and raw.
he
Period.
likes his colons, does Matthew Gasda.
Mm.
But sorry, finish your thought, please. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
there.
that was it. Like, but it's just like you're reading this and you're like, okay, but you know better. There's something here, and you can't like keep from tripping over your own rake as an author, Matthew, because you have to lay out exactly what's on your mind. You have to show off exactly how literary you are. You have to. We can't make these connections ourselves. He has to be leading us by the nose every step of the way, and that irks me.
And he
Check this out. The sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel.
Boom.
The kind of channel you see on television when your TV isn't working.
No,
There
stop.
was static.
Stop.
It was blurry. It kept on going.
we have and Lenore, you're right. He's leading us, and he's leading us to these two characters.
If this
He's
book
leading
could
us
be
to-
scratch and sniff, he would.
Oh, that's a horrible thought.
Why the fuck would you say that? That's good. That's funny. But I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, no, that's a horrible thing to say. Don't do it.
We have Mariko, who is basically, I mean, Akari's older sister, failed actress for the most part, chills at home in a long-term relationship that it's like weird they're not engaged at this point to this guy, Dan. Mariko is, to me, they don't do a lot of exploration of her besides she's insecure about her body, she's insecure about her career, she's insecure about everything, she's insecure about Dan cheating on her. And Dan is, as we established, Matt Chrisman.
Right.
He is described as this guy who has the thinning hair, he has the beard, he's letting himself go, he's got the long rants, he's got the thing on Twitter. It's the way he talks is like not quite Matt Chrisman, but pseudo Matt Chrisman.
Mhm.
I find there's something really gnarly. I mean, obviously it's like usually pretty gnarly to put someone in your book and like make them a person that an unfair characterization of them. Sometimes
Putting a guy you hate into your book so that they fucking hang themselves is some nasty, nasty.
Yeah,
business.
this is the like really nasty like logical conclusion of don't piss me off or I'll put you in my novel.
Yeah.
I will say there's one time I approve of doing something like this, and this is when C.S. Lewis was so mad at J.R.R. Tolkien for not aiming up to his end of a bet that he put him into his novel and had his stand-in character beat him to death. That was really funny. C.S. Lewis gets a pass for that. Nobody else gets that. And I will say, like, I mean, whatever. Matt Chrisman doesn't need me to defend him. He's successful on his own merits. Whatever. Y'all probably know who he is if you listen to this show. But
I'm nearly certain that that's the case.
I think there's something. Just a couple things I wanted to say on that though. One, I think there's something really gnarly. First of all, about they really get into the body stuff here on a level that really like, oh, it's like him, like, oh, he doesn't like properly
He's a
wipe and he
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hard. And
Oh yeah.
not that it would be cool anyway, but there's something extra like gnarly about the fact that Matt Christman has like a spine disability, like that he broke his spine when he was like 17 years old and has mobility. Like, not that it would be okay if he didn't. That's really weird. I think
Mhm.
that's fucked up.
Can I read an excerpt here
Please
of
do.
how
Please.
Dan is described in the book? Because
Please
I think
do.
this really frames it up nicely. So it first talks about Mariko and her whole deal. And then this is the narrator voice, but sort of seeing Dan from her perspective. Half bald and paunchy, his body embarrassed her. Mariko had been trained from a young age to care about how people presented themselves, but she concealed this training behind a veneer of naturalness. She appeared thrifty, conservative, plain to others. She bought nice clothes, but only when they were on sale. Okay, small point of order here. This contradicts other descriptions of Mariko in the book,
It
but
does.
we'll keep going. Dan, conversely, didn't care about beauty. He was a Marxist, or claimed he was. Appearance, in his opinion, was the fetish of a consumerist society. He couldn't realistically be expected to put much care into his appearance, but his posture, his choice of glasses, reflected subtle cultivation. He was an ethically concerned intellectual, someone exquisitely sensitive to the contradictions inherent to contemporary capitalism, to the warping effect a for-profit society had on the individual soul. The problem was that in being so exquisitely sensitive, so refined in his awareness of the system he was a part of in Prisoner 2, Dan had begun to believe that he was immune to many of capitalism's worst warp effects. He was more of a Calvinist than a Marxist. He believed that he was among the elect. He couldn't see that his intellectual posture was not, as he believed, a product of his ideological purity, but rather a behavior that he had acquired in order to flourish in the academic marketplace. Mariko imagined her boyfriend combing what was left of his hair in the faculty bathroom before the seminars he led. She knew the real hours he spent crafting long posts about the election, as well as his think pieces. The serious intellectual work, his early scholarship, had merely served to qualify him for the role of bullshitter. Dan had drifted from thinking to performing the act of thought for others, divesting himself of his own unique qualities one by one, so that what remained was an indistinct, composite humanoid substance: skin, hair, blood, bone, muscle, organs.
Hey, sterling, sparkling prose.
Ugh. It got cut in the edit. I fucked up reading that like 5 times because of how weirdly written this shit is.
Yeah, no, I think anyone would. Like, I do not envy whoever did the audiobook for this piece of shit.
No, I'm reading this shit out loud. I was at a panel last night where we read through the Eye of Argon, and that shit is easier to read than what we have here.
I also note that like it really doubles down on the hypocrisy. It's like he owns shares of Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Dan liked to assuage his guilt by suggesting he'd sell the stocks and buy an eco-friendly cottage, as if selling stocks purged their evil aura. Um, it's a very like you're socialist but you have money. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because we also learned that Dan comes from some wealth.
Yes.
His family, I guess, owns a place on Lake Michigan, even though he's from Ohio.
Yes.
Why do they always do this? If he's from Ohio, the place would be on fucking Lake Erie. It wouldn't be on Lake Michigan. Jesus Christ.
Well, Josh, let me tell you why it wouldn't be on Lake Erie. Because Lake Erie, kind of scary.
It's a little eerie. It's a little.
Lake Weird.
Just a little bit here. But
Little
Lake
bit.
Michigan, it's a little Michigan.
Now that's facts.
Hard to say otherwise. And there's, throughout this thing, like, and it also shows how much he's paid attention to like this specific guy, Matt Christman, because the amount of details, like where he's from and like so many things that like, yeah, I know it too. I was like a Chapo head back in my day. Shocker, right? Absolutely shocking that I'm a leftist with a podcast that listened to Chapo Trap House. Many such cases. But like the fact, the amount of details, like this guy like followed specifically to put it's fucking weird.
It's also weird because he gets a lot of it wrong. Not as Matt Christman specifically, but like just as regarding the entire experience of growing up in the Midwest, right? Like, because there are things about this description including but not limited to the place on Lake Michigan, that match my own personal upbringing, right? I'm a piece of shit, like upper middle class white guy who grew up in Michigan, and I could write about it. But it's so clear that he didn't do the research because he doesn't care about what that means or what that experience is. He wanted the details so that he could bludgeon this character.
Yes.
Which, I don't know. One of the things that AJ talks a lot about on our show, right? AJ Diddy, also friend, of course, of the Socialist Shelf.
Absolutely.
One of the things that he often talks about is like, what duty do you have to your characters as a writer? When do you hold on to them? When do you let them go? And also, in order to just like be true to them and the story, what does that require of you as an author? Because you do have a duty of care to your characters. I think that's true. And again, time and time again, it becomes so clear that the reason that these characters are so often inconsistent and confusing is that he does not have any real care for his characters beyond their utility in proving a point and like bludgeoning this imagined enemy to death.
Yes. And you have this really gnarly scene here that goes on for 7 years.
Oh my God.
And Mariko going back and forth and arguing about sex and life and this and that. I mean, you have...
This was when I DM'd you the other day, Josh. Like, what are these people talking about? I just read this and I have no idea what I've read.
I have no idea. I mean, yeah, because they're in a fight, but the fight doesn't really seem to have like stakes or intention. It's just like fight scene TK, and it got populated with a lot of stuff that sounds like what might happen if two people were in a fight. But we learn nothing about them from this. We don't know why they got into the relationship in the first place, really. Nor do we know why it is that it's falling apart now, other than they're horny, but they're not horny for each other anymore. Which, fine, but there have to be reasons for that, because that doesn't just necessarily happen with the passage of time.
But will you consider that Mariko was fully awake, mind, body, cunt?
Oh my God!
I mean, that's what we're working with.
Woke
here.
Up.
It feels very like
I hate it when my cunt falls asleep.
It feels very like the joke that like it always sounds like wrong when Taylor Swift cusses in a song. It feels very like that too. Like it feels very like I can do this now. It's like. Yeah, I guess, man. Like, yeah, you're able to, like, nobody's impressed that you're edgy. And I say this as the resident Swiftie on the podcast, but it's true.
We'll talk about
Taylor.
that.
Will we? We get like more stuff. He does a horrible attempt to do Kush vlog at one point where he goes, Dan says, I mean, like, you know, true story. Noam Chomsky had to see a dentist because he was grinding his teeth every morning reading the papers. Like there's no ... There's no ... We've talked about this. There's no real left. There's no left ... And it's frustrating. Liberalism is just kitsch socialism ...
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, again, it's an attempt to ape an aesthetic without understanding like what the thing itself is, the actual underpinnings of the rhetoric.
Yes. I just really wish he would write about like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania or something. I don't know.
No,
right.
Yeah,
you
you do have the right of it, Josh. There is a lot of this here that's like trying to ape how a leftist writes online. Lots of hyphenated words, lots of musings on factions and dynamics. Like it's online behavior commenting on other online behavior. At the end of the day, you can't escape from this guy yapping about other people that he dislikes, and it comes through in really weird. There's a really weird bit here. Page 56. Maybe it's nothing, but Mariko's thinking about Dan, and she's like, women assumed men were as interesting as they were, but they weren't. They were men. His desire would swing back. It had to swing back. He wasn't complicated enough to do anything else than be completely hers again. It occurred to her that white men, academics, who had rejected patriarchy in their published work, often courted Asian women in order to regain access to the very object they had theoretically rejected, a submissive female body. Her sister had subverted the stereotype, but Mariko hadn't. She cultivated it, precisely because it granted her a secure basis for erotic power. And it's like, is this an internal monologue? I don't think so. It doesn't read like
also,
one.
What erotic power? She doesn't have erotic power. That's like the whole point is that Dan won't fuck her. So she doesn't have erotic.
She's pulling off a double reverse en passant self-fetishization maneuver. There's levels to this, Jacob.
And there's something that we like to call foreshadowing here, because it says one day she thinks one day he'll, quote, fuck a girl who wears a Che t-shirt and listens to Pavement in 7th grade and wants to call someone daddy.
Why 7th grade?
Just cause. And that's what we call foreshadowing, because the next chapter, Dan is DMing with this girl, Eliza.
That's good.
Yeah.
Eliza is a former student of his. She is a junior in college. She was in his class when she was a sophomore in college.
And I just wanted to point something up about that real quick.
Yes.
Again, there's a bit of inconsistency here where there are points at which it is written to imply that she is his current student. At least that was the sense that I got from a few of the bits, which to me is maybe like this was maybe originally she was, and then there was a change and some of this stuff got missed in the edit. I don't know, but I think it's actually a pretty weak choice to make her a former student rather than a current one. Why not just go for it?
Mm-hmm. I think too, it's a weird hedging. And she literally, she is the person who initiates. She basically texts him "you up" on Facebook Messenger.
Right. Which is always italicized, by the way. Really annoying tick of this guy. He always italicizes the names of apps.
That's so weird.
Mm-hmm. And also he can't write text dialogue at all.
No.
And it describes her, if you want to hear what she's like, her Tinder bio says chaotic neutral. So that's what the type of girl she is.
She's a sapiosexual, Jacob.
Yeah. The thing about her is she has the potential to be something if he didn't really, you really feel his resentment towards young women.
Yeah.
Whenever you get her perspective, this seething resentment towards young women is really, really harsh.
And their unwillingness to fuck him, Matthew Gasda, the author of The Sleeper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have this awful date between Dan and her. Dan orders borscht on a date.
It's Veselka. They're at Veselka. It's what you do.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
As one does.
But also for some reason they refer to it, he refers to it interchangeably as Veselka, which is the actual name of the restaurant, and Veselka's. Nobody calls it Veselka's. It's fucking Veselka. Whatever. That's nitpicking. Mm-hmm. But it's like these little things where I'm like, I don't think anybody edited this book. Mm-hmm. Right? Like there are a lot of little things here and there where I'm like, any editor would have fixed that.
No, yeah.
The weird parenthetical clauses, the use the italicization of app names, which is not common practice in any style guide anywhere ever. It just little things like that.
Yeah. There's a bit where Mariko's horny and she's like, she thought about masturbating at the kitchen table. She did that sometimes. The apartment was so small it was either there or the bedroom. She was so fucking horny. What did Dan had for dinner? He'd just been writing all day. And it's like, this isn't your fucking inner mind wanders. You've stumbled into a different draft of the chapter.
Yes.
Yes. It makes me think of the fact that when I got my book, when I was originally getting my book signed, my editor was like, we really enjoy this story. We like your writing style. You're going to need to rewrite a lot of it though. Right. And that's common practice, even at a small publishing house, like the one I'm getting published through, that it's common practice to just get told, hey, this is bad here. This is what I don't know what his process is, but I was deeply unimpressed with that.
And that's good. That is a good thing. Getting edits is good. Making edits is good. It makes for a stronger product.
Mm-hmm. We have this just really awful back and forth, again, with Dan and Eliza, which I've got some stuff from them a little later that's more interesting. But they go back and forth. Do they want to fuck? Do they not want to? She's teasing him. She's maybe wants to be kind of running this, maybe not. She's being manic pixie dream girl here for a second. Then she's being sad girl. Ooh, woo. You have a bit where Dan says he had to admit it. The highest form of the student-teacher bond was erotic. Eros was the basis of his whole experience in the classroom.
This is so
weird.
Also, if true, again, just taking this on the merits, if that's true for him, we need to know how and why that is. Mm-hmm. Because when he gets the message from Eliza.
Along with Angelica and Peggy, yeah.
That's right. When he gets the message from Eliza, he at first is like, damn, I would never think of doing anything like this. But again, why? you, as a writer, you need to have the courage of your convictions. If you want this guy to be a real piece of shit, the moment that he hears that hotline bling, that can only mean one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Especially because we already established that he thinks Eros is the highest form of student-teacher
That's what I
bond.
mean, right?
But we should have a history of him fucking students or wanting
getting close but not quite doing it. Like, you can make this guy a much worse guy.
Yes.
And that's okay if that's the choice that you want to make, but it has to be a specific choice.
And again, like, there's bits and pieces here that you could build a dynamic out of that. Like, there's when he's reading her messages, and it's like, had he really not noticed this chick was into him all last spring? And it's like, okay, somebody who self-identifies as a feminist and who builds an identity off of that immediately defaults to the diminutive chick for the internal monologue the minute he's tempted, right? There is a deliberateness about this, but like, it's inextricably tied with bizarre musings on, was this really how younger people on the internet were? Was this normal to just like log in on an app and hack into somebody's brain? She was hot, he was lonely and underfucked. What outcome could there be other than what she wanted? And it's like, dude, you just sound like this is not a character. This is just you, like, yapping about Sissy Hypno, how dangerous it is.
There is this weird sort of permeable barrier between the internal lives of these characters and the internal life of Matthew Gasda, the guy. Not even Matthew Gasda, the author. Matthew Gasda, the guy. And it's so frustrating because, first of all, I come away from this being like, God damn, I would never want to meet this man. Like, if I came across this guy, this Gasda guy at an event, it would be on site. Like, we'd have to take it outside. But setting that bit aside, it also doesn't allow you to give space that is necessary to the world of the story because you as an author keep butting in on what's happening.
I would say to him more like Matthew Asta. That's
got his
what
ass.
I would tell him. Yeah, got his Asta. I would, Lenore, I would go without saying I don't really have anything to say about it, but it does have a weird throwout that Dan watches almost exclusively trans porn and makes him think he's gay.
I feel
what was that?
Like, it's just throwing shit in
asking
there.
the important questions in 2025. Are traps gay?
So we get this whole deal. This is like the whole middle of the book. And then we get a chapter that I think is just really, it really shows, like I said, the hatred of young women, where we have Eliza hanging out with her friends in the park. Her friends, Parker and Nina, that there's no interrogation into, except Nina is a little uglier and more prudish. Parker's hotter and more slutty. That's the whatever. She's
None of
hanging out
these
with her friends, and they're
none
like,
of her
taking selfies.
girlfriends are differentiated even a little bit. I could not tell you the first thing about any of these other characters. One thing that I just was going through my book about Eliza that everybody should be aware of is that she was Latina or half light brown skin and hair, discrete curves. These curves, by the way, are not discrete in the sense that they are like sort of subtle or hard to notice. They're discrete in the sense that they are discrete. They are separate from something.
Yes.
From what? I don't know. Again, small bugbear. That would have been caught by an editor. You clearly meant discrete in the subtle sense, not in the separate sense. Jesus Christ.
It's weird because, like, he really likes that word gnomic, but like you're absolutely right. There's bits and pieces where he's dropping words that he has no idea what they mean, like ancillary early on, like, because everybody thinks that means like unnecessary, and it's like, no, this is adjacent to, critical to the function of this overall thing. There's again, stepping on race is like it's like what reading this book is.
I personally really liked when Eliza's like boobs were floating on the other side of the diner while they were talking to each other, but that's just me, since
I hate when that happens.
But Eliza and her friends chilling at the park don't have a lot to say about it, except you have this weird moment where it starts talking about like her thinking about her childhood dynamics and says childhood was a giant sorting process where you figured out if you were passive or dominant or somewhere in the middle, a solid beta. And I think we're getting like weird incel logic with like how he imagines like 21-year-olds.
Are your kids betas?
Yeah.
My beta cuck child.
Yeah, just mom, can I have some money? I need some money in college. She's like, I don't know. Are you an alpha, sweetie? Are you in Sigma?
Yeah, I feel like we're hammering on the point again and again, but again, there's no interiority here, right? This is all this guy yapping about young people. They're extremely good at molding themselves to archetypes, stereotypes. That was what the internet did to people, he says. It destroyed their indigenous interiority, left them vulnerable to external representations of the self. I guess like this one, like, Eliza had no idea who she was, he thought. No idea this was even a problem. It was just too easy to say exactly what she thought he wanted to hear. Too easy to create a pseudo-self as needed with swiping fingers and thumbs. No, you're just
Lenore,
talking to people.
I'm begging you to stop.
I'm begging this guy to stop.
Yes, God,
Hey,
aren't we all?
let me tell you something. I when Dan went to Veselka, he got an Uber, you know, an Uber, which was italicized, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got there, and I quote, the car almost miraculously pulled up in front of Veselka.
Almost miraculously.
Almost miraculously. I love it when my fucking ride share almost miraculously shows up at
Did
the
it have
destination
one
that I
wheel?
put
What was
into
wrong
my
with it?
Limping along.
I know that I'm just looking for reasons to dunk on this guy, but I'm like going through my highlights and there's
Well,
just
he thinks he's so smart. That's part of it. Is like
Yeah.
he's criticizing these characters' vapidity the entire time. But there could be nothing more vapid than this writing, and there is nothing more surface level, nothing, and also just not even clever, right?
It's the NPC accusation is a confession.
Sure. I what absolutely. What we then get this weird fucking we have this whole weird whatever. Eliza maybe gets with this guy Blake, then she doesn't. Who gives a shit?
Oh, I totally forgot about that. She goes to the party and she's like, damn, I sure would like to go into your bedroom. And he's like, okay, we can do that later. And she's like, what? No, I want to do it now. And he's like, no. And she's like, damn. And then she leaves.
And then she says, look me up on Instagram, which is like maybe why he wrote the scene. I don't know. Then we have this weird subplot that doesn't matter at all, but I feel like it's worth noting, where Mariko fucks her old director producer Xavier in a really like kind of gnarly situation that maybe could be something. And
this is almost interesting.
Yes. Does someone want to describe what happens here? I don't want to.
No.
Okay, fine. I'll do it.
Go ahead. Be the hero.
Yeah, so Mariko, it turns out, like, back in her early acting days, was joined at the hip with this director, and they were fucking sort of as, like, an arrangement where, like, by virtue of them sleeping together, she'd get the good roles. And here's the thing. Again, to the point of how, like, this is almost doing something, this is not uncommon, still.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a fantastic opportunity here to really talk about the nature of the overlap between the personal and the professional in the creative industries, especially theater. There's something about theater where it just is this way still. And you could talk about it in a way that is distant from the whole like Me Too thing, because in a lot of cases, these are fully consensual relationships where there are still power dynamics at play.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be, he seems to be wanting to sort of set up a parallel here between the relationship that Dan has with this student and the relationship that Mariko has with this director, where it's like these are older males who are in control of institutions and sort of use that institutional power to bring certain things to bear. The problem is that these aren't really parallel situations. And again, there is the possibility of exploring why these are or are not parallel, or like, why do we allow these kinds of behaviors in certain contexts, but not others? These are all questions you can explore. This doesn't happen. Instead, what happens is Mariko shows up at this director's house. Turns out he has cancer and he's about to go into chemo. She basically pity fucks him and then goes home, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think the throwing on the cancer thing was like a little strange. I guess it's the reason they get together. I do think some of the better writing in the novel is from Xavier's perspective. It's not great, but like there's some moments where he's kind of like, I'm worried about like my body falling apart and ending. And that's like, and saying I've directed tragedies and that's not prepared me for death. There's something there. I think he's a character that like I would rather follow, that there is something there. It's not great, but it's something. You have this kind of gnarly thing that, it's an unfair power dynamic. He pressures her. It's not like he assaults her or anything, but it's a bad situation. Feels bad. I think it feels like a subplot that like maybe was gonna be more that isn't. Um, I just don't quite get what we're going for here, except it's like these parallel dynamics that Dan later on is like, why was that okay, but my thing not okay? Says it like the second to last chapter, but then like doesn't really mean anything. Is there anything for us to take away from this except it's like a hey, here's another New York society thing?
What I will say is that I think that the reason this feels the most sharply observed is that it's probably the thing that Gasda has the most direct experience with, just
Okay.
the world of New York theater, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the fact that the guy, Xavier, had a theater company called Passing Strange is actually really funny. I laughed out loud when I saw that. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this seems to have a purpose to it. This seems to have intention, and this seems to have specificity. And maybe if you leaned more into this, there could be something, except not really, because this guy just doesn't have anything to say, you know?
So we then get scene 2 in the diner between Dan and Eliza. And I really think that we need to get Josh to reprise his role as Dan for
I
the
would
section,
love
because I
to.
have another back and forth here that I would really enjoy y'all reading, if you do not mind. Folks, to set the scene, Dan and Eliza are in the coffee shop at their serve restaurant or whatever at their second meeting between each other. They have not fucked the first time, but they may
Right.
just be about to. We're going to see.
Oh my God.
Will they, won't they?
So Dan traced the edge of his coffee cup with his pointer finger, staring at the oily surface of the liquid.
Sorry, again, being a pedant here, but coffee-cup, pointer-finger. What are
No,
we
I
doing?
fucking hate that flourish. Coffee cup, pointer finger. There's so many like hyphenated things that shouldn't be hyphenated, showing off. Like why does this happen?
It's because he's a
Sorry.
genius. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, clearly misunderstood. Um, I just think that maybe we shouldn't have rushed into things.
Eliza continued.
Easy to say now.
Yeah, I know.
You shouldn't pretend to,
To what?
I don't know, Eliza, be someone you're not.
And who's that?
A confident person who knows what they want.
Eliza looked away over her shoulder towards the window.
Yeah, I guess I should stop.
I'm not trying to be,
It's not hurtful.
I'm just hoping that maybe we can communicate, share responsibility for what happened last night, and
You're not gonna fuck me tonight.
She ignored the part about responsibility.
get her ass. Such an interesting example of like how he's constantly putting his finger on the scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that
Do you?
based on the hostility levels at this table right now. Yeah, I do.
Hostility levels rising.
It's so fucking millennial.
Level critical. I'm just really tired of being an object that other people pick up and put down whenever they like.
I hear you.
Stop acting all sensitive and mature.
Oh, sure thing.
He shot back sarcastically.
I'm so sorry.
It's manipulative.
What could I say that you wouldn't automatically register as manipulative?
I have no idea.
She mumbled.
So every direction I turn,
Yeah,
I'm screwed.
yeah.
The situation was impressively ambiguous. She
Not
shifted.
oppressively ambiguous.
She shifted in her seat, brushed his foot with her foot.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
well, that's
stand
not very
down for-
ambiguous at all.
I always do that ambiguously.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm ambiguous in whether it's ambiguous or not. There's a lot of mixed signals here.
Yeah. That's what I call oppressively ambiguous.
Mm.
I'm gonna stand down for a second. Give you a second to catch your breath. I'm a lot. I'm being a lot. I hear myself being a lot. Okay?
Quizzically, he squinted at her.
Okay.
I like sitting with you. I do. I liked being in the same room with you in class. I like the feeling of messaging you and meeting up with you on the spur of the moment like that. I like seeing your gears whirring, and I like how indecisive and cagey and neurotic you are.
You think I'm neurotic?
Fuck yeah, you are.
If you say so.
I think you second guess yourself. I think you overthink things.
Well, the classic attack on thinking.
Classic.
As in, it's been going on as long as civilization has existed. The complaint against people who think too much.
Don't flatter yourself.
I'll try not to for your sake.
Thanks.
As a teenager, Dan used to masturbate to girls like this. Girls who
Fred
treated
Stoker
him like
ass.
this. Girls who treated him like this, mocked him, made him feel like a piece of shit. He always went for the pretty girls who were popular but still good in school. Essentially, Eliza had just tapped into a deep insecurity.
Oh, it was he essentially. This was
Essentially.
why is that? What is the word essentially doing there? I know I'm nitpicking. I know I am, but it's just. Sorry, we'll continue. I'm
And
not
again,
mad.
You're
well,
almost,
but
you're
again,
almost there.
like he used to masturbate to girls who made him like feel like a piece of shit, and that's it. You don't need to unpack it, but Gasda can't resist unpacking it.
Well, that helps
Girls
us
who
get
are
in,
popular and good at school.
and that helps us get into the mind of the character, Lenore. Don't you get it?
Matthew Gasda is a character, I will say.
I can see how with a womanly mind you might not understand.
That's
Like,
Oh, yeah.
true. That's
I have
true.
that. I have that biological disadvantage.
I think we can wrap up the back and forth there. It's just a fucking
no, we got to keep going.
Go ahead,
We've
go
come this
ahead.
far. We've come this far. Are you okay?
Dan looked at her sympathetically.
Oh, thank goodness. Why would you ask that?
Because you look upset.
This coffee is so shitty.
She mumbled, ignoring him on purpose.
I like it.
He said, smiling, trying to be charming, sensitive, or hoping that things were turning in his favor.
I really just don't know how to talk about what I'm feeling.
Eliza said tonelessly.
Who does?
It seems like absolutely nobody does. It's wild.
They get into Nietzsche here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to do all this, but like,
Well,
fuck.
yeah.
Like this is
This
nothing.
is nothing. There's nothing happening here.
Bro is on to nothing. But they do end up fucking off screen because that would be interesting. Or
Oh,
off
they
page,
do?
I guess. Yeah, they
Oh,
fuck.
yeah.
How did I miss that? I missed
Because
that.
it happens off page and it's implied, but they do. Even though
Oh,
she
maybe
says,
maybe that's why I was like, oh, they did. I fucking hate this book, man. All right.
yeah, they have sex later.
All right.
I guess. And so that happens. Dan goes back to his apartment and he has that exchange with Akari from the top because she's gotten there and she masturbated
Oh,
on
that's
his couch.
right. And Akari's also had sex, and then fucking Akira. What the fuck is her name?
Akari.
Akari is like
Mariko's the girlfriend, yeah.
Mariko gets back and Akari's
Right.
like, I know my sister, and she smells like sex.
she's like, damn, they both smell like sex, though. Yeah.
There's so much scent in this book, scent memory and like sensation, and like whenever anybody gets introspective, they have to take a shit. Have you noticed this?
Yes.
We have Dan has just had sex. Mariko's just had sex. Akari has just masturbated on the couch. You know it smelled crazy in there.
Crazy in there.
The room
Akari,
smells like dog surgery.
and Akari's like, again, just weird little things. It's like Akari smells the sex on her sister and is like, damn, I sure do be horny right now, because that's her only fucking character trait.
Yes. I cannot stress enough. This is the first time we've seen her in like 150 pages or whatever.
It's so
fuck.
funny. By the
Okay.
way, we're about to
Yeah.
get to part 2 of the book.
I wrote down part 2 is, I think I wrote down 84% of the way through the book.
Yeah. Well, because there's a time skip, you know, like you can divide it that way. Certainly, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
But
not-
but then there's another time skip within part 2.
oh yeah. Which again, like, what are we doing here? What is the goal dividing it up like this?
Because like part 3, it should be part 3 because there's another time skip, right? And
Following
part
the
3
rules,
is the
yes.
last like 3 or 4 pages of the book, essentially.
Part 4 is the last sentence.
So yeah, there's a time skip, and Dan basically after Eliza graduated, she called him out on Facebook, and because of cancel culture, he got fired.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's a lot that like Dan is like musing about, like, oh, the current mores have like led to my downfall, and it's like, okay, so you're an anti-Me Too guy. We're gonna get your Why I Left the Left screed any day now.
He says he's not a socialist anymore. He has this part where he says, how are there no second chances? And she says, there are plenty of second chances, just not in academia in 2019.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's, and the ambiguity of it is, it's just very frustrating. And we don't get Eliza's perspective on why she switches up, which would be like, if you it says at the top the lives of these 4 characters. Presumably Eliza's the 4th character, but we don't get why Eliza switches up, why
Well,
she decides to say this. That would be interesting.
Because again, she's not a character. She's a vector for Dan's disaffection.
Yeah, and for the author's misogyny.
Yes. No, there's bits in here that like her 2 best friends are like described as like opposite poles of her personality.
I also like I've never seen 2 pretty best friends, and that's the case with her 2 best friends as well. One of them is described as being like a real dumpy piece of shit.
Literally. Yeah, the collective decision to attend this party was an extension of Instagram thinking. It was, and this was truly bizarre. That's a parenthetical, by the way, and this was truly bizarre. Like they were being liked in real life. They were more receptive to the physical contact because they'd grown so accustomed to digital contacts. The internet softened them up to being hit on. Fuck you, Matt Gasda.
That's not true. That's also not how that works.
No.
Like, it's categorically, statistically, every study's... The internet does not soften up people to being hit on in real life. It makes it, like, there's a reason people have less sex now. Like, that's actually not true at all.
If you go on the fucking apps, like... unless you fit a very specific standard, right? A very conventional, traditional standard of attractiveness, it's gonna be a hard time, you know?
And much less in a house party in person that just some guy came up to them at the park and was like, you want to come to the party with me? He was throwing, like, presumably this guy just thinks this is what college girls are. I don't know.
I think it is what he thinks college girls are. I think that the one big thing I take away from this book more than anything else is that Gasda has a pathology about college girls because he didn't get the play in college that he wanted to get.
Yep.
I could be wrong about that. Maybe he's just really, really brilliant at capturing the pathology of a guy who really wanted to have sex in college and didn't get any. But given the book overall and its general lack of distance from the author, I don't think so. I think he's hung up, and I think that he needed to write a book that allowed him to get it out, which I actually think is fine, like as an exercise. But then if you're going to make the choice to publish that shit, you gotta take another pass at it.
Well, because okay, like spite is a motivator, but what are you building on it, right?
Right.
Because this is a book that could have been a Twitter thread.
Yeah.
I also, I mean, because I'm insane, checked out The Sleepers. Or not The Sleepers. That too.
We did. We all did.
We've been doing that.
Because I'm insane, I checked out Dime Square, and the women are that. The women are like that in that too.
Yeah.
That they're the same way. The men compete intellectually, and the women compete sexually.
Sure.
That's how his writing is. So I was like, is this like no, that's how he writes. He's a little more competent as a playwright, I think, but it doesn't change the fundamental like structure of what he's up to.
Well, I think the reason he's a better playwright than he is an author of prose is that his dialogue does move. Sure. The problem is that it doesn't really say anything.
Right.
I think you could have an interesting performance of one of his plays if every one of the actors and the director hated him.
All right. That's a good. All right. Let's see. You might be cooking something.
Who knows? Dan and Mariko have a final conversation. It's been 3 years. It's 2019. Dan got #canceled. They have an awful back and forth where they're like, we love each other, but we can't be together, and blah, blah, blah. It's nothing. I don't know. Do y'all have anything here? Dan's lost some weight. He's sad. He's fucking girls on Tinder, apparently.
This is the conversation where I think I had the most thought of like, oh my God, you are writing like a 16-year-old. Like this is the most adolescent ass section of the entire book where it's like, what? I don't know if I am assuming that both
really
of you at some point wrote the self-insert story where you get dumped, right? Or like where you try to score and you can't score successfully.
Yes.
Really sucks that you let me believe I was the only one doing the betraying. That is something very that is something very wow, I'm an adolescent and I've stumbled upon this like profound betrayal, right?
But like this is a 30-something-year-old ass man. What are we doing here? Like both the character and the author. It is absolutely bizarre to me that like a grown-ass man would write something that smacks so strongly of, I am 16 years old and I've fired up Microsoft Word, you know?
Yes. I wrote something like this on WordPad on my laptop that didn't connect to the internet that I got
Right.
given, like when I was
Yes.
15. You know what I
I
mean?
think I still have it lying around somewhere. I can read some excerpts from it and dunk on my teenage self if you want. I
If
don't
you're
know.
interested in that, listen to Worst of All Possible Worlds, which you've done
Yeah,
multiple times
that is
now.
true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's me dunking on my like sixth grade self in my cool science fiction stories, but
It
you
is
know that's
cool.
neither here
It's
nor there.
good.
Fourth grade self, whatever. Who cares?
It's cool.
But
Come back
yes,
next week for us covering Josh's science fiction story.
the hidden enemy. Yes.
They
But
do be hidden.
I think that if you are an adolescent, the excitement of writing can often be exploring emotions that you yourself do not fully understand.
That's right.
And giving yourself a place where you can play out a scenario any way that you want to sort of grant yourself the edification of either a good or a bad outcome, and then be like, okay, how does this make me feel? Like, what does this do to me? Again, I think that's a useful exercise when you're 16.
Yes. And not publishing the work. At best, showing it to your like really good internet friend. I don't know. Like that you have a codependent relationship on in a Percy Jackson role playing forum. This is not particular to my life experience. Why would you ask?
Right, because when you grow up, because then you keep doing it, and then you grow up and you write this like really weird grievance fiction about somebody who ultimately hangs himself. Can we talk about that?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. The last scene with Dan, he's having sex with a random woman where it just gets one.
I love this character. This is my favorite character.
Allison.
She's like actually a character, right?
Yes, because she says what she fucking means.
Yeah, she's like, I want to have sex with you. I'm not super worried about this whole whatever. Like she's like communicating. She's like, I'm getting over a breakup, whatever. This whole Tinder thing, not feeling the eggs. She's talking.
But this is like, I mean, of course, yeah, you know, it's very much like what a like Gen Xer like thinks. I mean, you know, no, Guess is millennial, but like this is what somebody who doesn't talk to Zoomers thinks Zoomers sound like, right?
Yes.
Is there any coffee? Yeah, I have a pot going. Rad, Allison said in a flat, affectionless tone as she swung her whole body out of bed. I'll take some.
A death.
No, meanwhile, the actual Lenore, you're the expert on Zoomer slang. What would Allison actually say in real life?
Oh, fuck. I don't know, just dope and leave it at that.
Yeah, or just like period.
Yeah.
Say something like, damn, shorty, me and Dan were busting until the room stank. Something
No,
like
here we go. Do you have any stevia? Stevia? Yeah. No, sorry, I don't. Okay, no worries. She wouldn't say no worries. She would say, I'm dead.
True. I do like it. Sorry, it gets one more dunk in on the left, though, here, where it goes, the progressive lexicon Allison had used at dinner made him nervous.
Yes.
Each statement seemed to come through an adjacent threat, signal that you strongly agree or else. In order to fuck, he had to pretend to agree with her, just as he would have unreflexively proudly a few years before. A progressive pariah, he had little choice but to act as if he were still one of the righteous. In a sense, Dan had become an amphibian, liberal and reactionary.
But again, this is like this weird diatribe that doesn't actually match what's going on in this scene at all.
Because she doesn't give a shit.
No, and she's very explicit about what it is that she wants and reacts very directly to everything that he says.
Well, and this is the closest that we get to an interesting sort of conflict of dynamics here, because I can read this as like, okay, he's trying to hook up with this person, but this is like the new hotness, and the world has left him behind, right?
Except that he is able to just hook up with women from Tinder, like he's doing fine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's kind of interesting that it's like, man, I can't. Well, you kind of can, right? Like you scored this like progressive baddie from Tinder. Like I don't know. Allison sounds awesome.
And so then she's like, I really want your cock, boy. And he's like, oh, I don't know. But then they start fucking again, and he's able to get it up because he is picturing Eliza in his own mind.
Yep. And I just have to throw out at the end here, just because it's the thing that always drives me crazy. It's the idea of you have to agree with them or else they won't fuck you. Okay, whatever. Like that, the idea that there's anything more than like, oh, a woman won't be attracted to me. This is literally This is literally 1984.
Yeah, I love bitching about like ideological hegemony of the left keeping me from getting laid while there are like, masked lynch mobs blackbagging people with the imprimatur of the state.
Yeah, it's like, where are your priorities, man?
Mhm.
Also, sometimes you just want to get some dick, and
Yeah.
like that is what is happening in this scene. So again, there's a conflict between the intention of the author and what he has put on the page.
Parker says as much. Eliza's like, friend that's barely a character. That I hadn't had sex in 2 weeks. I just want to jump somebody, and it's like, okay, but that's real, but it's also wrapped up in his weird like fixations on
Yes.
Eliza, her body kept flashing before him like a jump cut. Eliza, he hated her so much. Perversely, though, thinking about Eliza with his eyes shut while Allison touched him all over had the right effect. His cock swelled past the threshold of functionality. What? Allison slipped from the couch, pulled off his boxers, and started to blow him. He was completely inert, submissive. The more he tried to move, the less he was able to move, slipping into a state of complete erotic relaxation. His body and mind separate, like oil and water.
That's not how it works.
Allison stood up, slipped off her rose-pink underwear, pushed him back lengthwise onto the couch, and mounted him, moaning loudly. He badly wanted to whisper, "Eliza!" It never occurred to him to summon images of Mariko, who stood for something very different in his mind. "I'm gonna come," Allison announced as she rocked back and forth. Dan let forth a moan just to demonstrate that he was still linked to her, which in a way he was. "Can you come with me?" she asked, letting slip a hint of vulnerability, an unfulfilled wish, parenthetical, replacing her ex. "Joseph, come with me." Oh,
You're
that's
not
right.
replacing your ex. You're replacing this person with your ex.
Also, he's calling himself Joseph now. I forgot about that detail. Dan, self-enclosed, infinitely distant, was, in his solipsistic way, deeply turned on and ready to finish. Her fingers raked his chest. Her hips dug into his hips. "I'm coming," he whispered. "I'm coming," he whispered, as he imagined ejaculating into Eliza. "I'm coming." Allison, completely unaware of what he was feeling, completely indifferent to it, completely hooked into her own physical needs, parenthetical, as was her right, and parenthetical, comma, slumped down, sweaty against his chest. That was fun. "Yeah," he said, panting, opening his eyes, attempting to reconnect. "Super fun." "Well, I should go," she said, as she rolled off him and gathered her clothing from the living room floor. "I've got stuff to do." That is the last we will hear of Dan. After this, Dan fucking kills himself.
Yes. Also, just
Off screen!
because he doesn't have an editor, I would like to give Gasda, if you get another pass at this, it would be much more effective scene if Dan was masturbating to Eliza. That would be much more effective if this other woman wasn't there. I think that would be a much more, not that I want to see that either, but that would work a whole lot better as a solipsistic type of.
I mean, we've already seen him shitting in graphic detail. What's one masturbation scene?
I think it would be much more effective to do what he's trying to do here.
I do want to talk about this for just a second because, again, we will soon come to learn over the course of like 5 pages, which is the remainder of this book, that Dan hanged himself. And so if this is the last thing we are seeing about him, there needs to be, again, to the point of respect for your character, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to know something about him from this. We need to be given a way in that lets us see why it was that he made that choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can't just come from a place of like, I'm feeling sad and girls won't fuck me, because you don't kill yourself for that reason, right?
Also, girls will fuck him.
I mean, yes. we just talked about this coming week's episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds, which I imagine will be out by the time you release this. We talked about Anthony Bourdain. And Anthony, we specifically looked at the Borneo episode of Parts Unknown, where he is clearly extremely depressed. And toward the end, he has a monologue where he talks about this experience and how he wasn't feeling anything during it. And it is, as Brian was saying, so clearly the words of a suicidal man.
Yeah.
And they kind of like hide it a little bit with the editing. They try to put a bit of a positive spin on it and be like, well, sometimes blah, 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 blah. But it's so haunting to like now go back and watch this and be like, damn, he was having a bad time at this point. And similarly, if you want the way that this book sort of casts off his suicide almost as just like a mention, you need to have his last moment on the page be fucking haunting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There needs to be something there that makes you be like, damn, these are the thoughts of a suicidal man. And that doesn't happen here.
Right, because I mean that's what happened when you do, it's what happens when you don't write a character. It's what happens when you make up a guy to get mad at, right?
Yes.
It's there's this reminded me of way back in the day, like Dan O'Brien wrote a piece on Cracked about like going to a Glenn Beck show and like trying to understand the appeal. And there's a bit where he's talking about how all the humor is referential without actually telling a joke, right? Like the words New York, East Coast, California thrown around with a wink as if the words themselves are punchlines, even though the jokes are never quite explained. And that's what this is, right? This is, this person is not committing suicide because they've been pushed to a breaking point, because they've been so alienated and they don't see a way forward. It's because, oh yeah, this is just like a sad sack and this is what sad sacks do. Get it?
Right.
Do you get it, guys?
Yeah. This guy's killing himself because I hate the guy.
Right. And that's the thing, right? That this is not what sad sacks do.
Mm-hmm.
What sad sacks do is they fucking sit around and mope and then eventually just kind of go. But they don't kill themselves, because killing yourself is, and this book also does the thing where I think it's Dan's mom, we learn, killed herself, or was it his dad? I don't actually remember.
His mom.
It's his mother.
It was his mom. And this is also thrown aside just as a little bit of like, I guess, attempt at character development. I am I have personal experience in my family with suicide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that will always jump out for me as a piece of hack writing, and where I will immediately distrust the writer, no matter what it is that I'm reading, is when suicide is used as a piece of character development, for the advancement of a character without exploring in any way, shape, or form the inner life of the person who took their own life.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you are telling me is that you don't respect what that thing is and what it means, and you are more interested in creating a tragedy in this person's backstory so that oh, this guy has some depth. He's experienced something really tough. But suicide, as with any tragedy, has a specificity to it. And if you're not willing to explore that specificity, you don't fucking care. Not just about the character, but also about the experience of what it feels like to lose somebody to suicide, or to fucking kill yourself for that matter.
Yep, exactly right. It's a piece of set dressing, and it's not just that it's bad taste, it's that it's hack. It's that it's
right.
You're like, what's something that will really make people feel something reflexively?
Yeah.
It's the same impulse as putting in like, oh, I'm going to say a lot of cuss words and describe this guy shitting, so you're going to feel nasty. It's the same impulse. It is the same. You see it on the same level, and it is, beyond being deeply insensitive, it is just bad writing.
Yeah.
We get to the end here. We introduce this character that was mentioned at the very beginning, Suzanne, who is the Zoomer girlfriend of Akari.
Akari at the beginning, when she was getting horned up, Suzanne was the one that she was texting at that time. It is a time skip. So at this time, I can't fucking remember who ended up having the kid.
It was
Akari.
Mariko. No, Mariko has the kid.
Wait, what?
I love that we can't remember.
I read it last night. I promise. Mariko has the kid. She got married to a man named Tim. It never mentions.
Right.
Oh, yep.
Akari is now a somewhat proud aunt.
And yeah, Suzanne, we get her perspective at the end, because what you really want to do in a book is to give a perspective to a character you've never seen before.
That's right. Yeah. Suzanne had to take a leave of absence her second year of college because she got so stressed. She was taking 18 credits and literally didn't sleep thanks to Adderall. She could go like 5 or 6 hours in a row without getting up to pee, which was a little bit dangerous, but also fun. Sometimes her body would begin to involuntarily piss. Okay, thanks, man. and she'd have to run to the bathroom in a state of shock. If Suzanne did sleep, it was in the middle of the afternoon, after classes were over. Her roommates would come home and find her passed out on the couch of their common room. She wouldn't even be able to make it to her bed. Her grandparents sent her to hippie rehab that spring during medical leave. It was in Colorado and lasted 4 weeks. It would have been longer, but the insurance only covered 4. In Colorado, Suzanne had a girlfriend and a boyfriend. She didn't tell them about each other, and they never guessed at each other's existence. And she never said anything to Akari.
Give a shit.
I cannot stress strongly enough. There are 5 pages left in the book at this point.
And we get the thesis here where Suzanne and Mariko, who have no relationship whatsoever, are sitting around. And Mariko just throws out, do more than just survive, Suzanne. That's my advice. Because that's what I did. And even though I'm trying to change, the habit might be too strong for me. And Suzanne says, what's the alternative? And she says, risk everything constantly. And she says, that's so romantic. And she says, yeah, I'm saying be romantic. And if there is any, there's like a thesis to this book. It's like, these people are the sleepers. They're just living their lives reflexively,
Right.
driven by the algorithm and life
Wait,
and whatever.
wait,
and you should
they're
live
the sleepers? The sleepers has been them the entire time?
the whole time.
It was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, you were thinking the whole book. I was like, I wonder when the sleepers will appear. And then I was like, oh, fuck.
All Suzanne can think about watching Mariko play with little Olivia is how ridiculously, stupidly ordinary, repeatable, universal, and human the scene is. How it's happened
man.
billions of times before, and will happen a billion times in the future. She wonders if this is not the most significant thing, the sameness of people. She doesn't really want to think about it.
Well, so in this here is Gasda's attempt to do Chekhov, right?
Yes.
Like he references Chekhov a lot. I think you mentioned in one of those interviews with him, he talks about Chekhov.
And Chekhov gets name checked in the second chapter of this book as well.
It's very, very clear that Chekhov is his primary dramatic influence, where he sees these depressed people with who are just fine materially, but live these lives of quiet desperation, right? And he sees Chekhov do it, and he's like, damn, I can do that too. And he just can't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He should start trying to write like Chekhov and stop trying to check off boxes.
There we go.
I don't have anything.
There we go. Because
more like Jack
because
off.
the thing that makes Chekhov work, right, it's twofold. First of all, it is about capturing a specific class of people who are, without necessarily even their own knowledge, on the precipice of world historical change, right?
Mm-hmm.
A class of people that will essentially cease to exist within the coming decades. And so it is about that. It is about, it is class first in that regard, but it's also about these people who take themselves phenomenally seriously, but in fact, their worries about the world are expressions of something that they do not understand, right? I think he dials into the second thing a little bit more, or at least tries to, but in both cases, that's what makes Chekhov still work today, is that you still have a class of people who are at the precipice of world historical change and demand to preserve their lived experience, despite the fact that they are foolish people who are on their way out. You know what I mean?
What's cool is obviously this is an auditory medium, but I have Vladimir Lenin behind me. And when you said a class of people that will cease to exist, I heard him say, fuck yeah, they're about to cease to exist. Chekhov's class of people that are about to cease to exist. Legit. Yeah, and that's where we end this. They get on the plane, Suzanne and Akari, they fly back, and they fall asleep on the plane. And that's...
I would like to read the excerpts regarding Dan's death.
Do it, because it sucks.
It sucks. It sucks fucking dog dick. So they're hanging out. Suzanne and Akari they're in Mariko's apartment in Greenpoint, and they're waiting for the baby to wake up. And Suzanne is... I can't tell what's going on here, genuinely. I have to reread and reparse this, because also the part where they get on the airplane is not made explicit. Anyway, I'm just going to read this.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, she here being Suzanne, I think, is just ready for Akari to wake up, to call a car, and to get out of here. She can't help but feel that it's dangerous to absorb too much more of this, to stay in this house much longer. I'm bothering you, Mariko says, as if she can read her mind. No, you're not. It's okay. I'm bothering you. I'll go. I should check on Olivia. She wakes up sometimes, and if no one's there, she gets upset. It sounds like Mariko's trying to talk herself into something. Suzanne realizes... Actually, this is an important point, too. This chapter is written in the present tense, whereas the remainder of the book is written in the past tense. Suzanne realizes that Mariko's never going to open up about the suicide. She'll just keep indirectly alluding to it for the rest of her life. It will just permeate the room like too much perfume. It will linger. It will never go away. Suzanne just wants to go home. And by the way, that is the first mention of a suicide at this point,
Yes.
other than Dan's mother's suicide, which was mentioned earlier. And then I was like, wait, hold on. Did I get that wrong? Did Mariko's mom die? Was I confused? No, turns out this is alluding to a suicide we did not know happened yet. Great
No.
writing.
On the second to last page of the book.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Suzanne
on the
just
last page of the book, you have just the Suzanne keeps flashing to an image of Dan hanging from the ceiling, an event she was not present for, but which is nevertheless indelible in her memory. And the question is why Suzanne presumably never met Dan, has no
Right.
whatever. But
also, I just did want to read the paragraph before that as well, because actually, no, I should read this, because this is where he is trying to drive the thing home.
yeah,
And like make his thesis statement. Sorry, Suzanne is like, damn, Akari better wake up. And then Suzanne puts her phone on airplane mode. Akari plays Candy Crush next to her. So it just like, we just shift, and there's nothing to let us know that we've shifted. We're just here now. Great writing.
Candy Crush italicized, don't worry.
Of course. The whole airplane hums with quiet busyness. People put their things away, settling in, tuning out, getting ready to fall asleep. That's all Suzanne can focus on, the plane getting airborne, and that gentle feeling that settles over airplanes once they're at altitude. You just float along in your giant air pocket, parenthetical, almost like you're swimming with your eyes closed, end parenthetical. The plane could begin to fall, and you might not even notice. The engines could shut off, altitude could suddenly drop, people could begin to scream, and it's possible that you could still be asleep. Just depends on how deep asleep it is. If it's deep enough, nothing can harm you. There's no fear, there's no disturbance. You just have to keep your eyes closed, your earbuds in. It's not just biological sleep. It's a deeper, truer sleep than that, the sleep of the soul. Less than 1% of 1% of 1% of what could happen will happen, Suzanne
1%
thinks.
of 1%.
Of the infinite universes that are possible, she's stuck in this one. There are so many possible worlds. You're damn right.
God,
Of the
we got
infinite
this
thoughts,
one.
of the infinite thoughts she could have, she's having this one. Are we sure that this guy has not listened to the Worst of All Possible
So
Worlds
many
podcast? I
possible
don't know.
thoughts, but we.
I look forward to being pilloried in a future play by this motherfucker. For no good, assuming he can tell me apart from my co-hosts, for no good reason, just because. Suzanne keeps flashing to an image of Dan hanging from a ceiling fan, an event she was not present for, but which is nevertheless indelible in her memory. Did you bring any snacks? Akari asks, nudging Suzanne. I brought some almonds. Do you want me to get them? No, that's okay. It's fine. I'll just eat later. Okay, Suzanne says, closing her eyes. Wake me up when we land. End of novel.
Little did she know it was about to be hijacked and fly into the World Trade Center. That's that.
I would forgive this
Oh,
book
God.
everything if it did 9/11 at the end.
If it did
Or
that
just
one
like-
Robert Pattinson movie, yeah.
I would have ended it with, and then the sleepers arrived.
Fucking-
That's the end.
Boss music starts playing, like a Dark Souls fucking health bar appears at the bottom.
Oh, oh, oh.
The sleepers have arrived. Yeah, that's the book. It's obviously bad, and it's bad in unique and interesting ways. This culture that this guy's coming from is bad in unique and interesting ways. I feel like this guy's like 30 something, so like we're gonna keep hearing about
I
him
think he's
probably.
like my age. I think he's around 35.
Yeah, so if his publicist stays cooking the way his publicist has been cooking, we're gonna keep hearing
Right.
about this guy.
Also,
but-
he's clearly got podcast brain.
Yes.
I think, again, from that, maybe I'm just reading into this, but I think maybe he listened to my podcast at some point and decided to rip off our theme song for his
Let's
closing
hope.
thesis. I don't know. But if you're listening to this right now, Matt,
Yeah.
send me an email, okay? Send an email to Josh at worstpossible.world. I just want to talk, Matt. I just want to talk. Meet me in Dime Square. We'll throw down. Here's what I'll say too, right? Because I think he might be listening to this. He strikes me as the kind of guy to Google himself and listen to the stuff that has been written about him. Matt, I hope you feel bad. I hope you feel bad about the things that I have said about your horrible book. And I mean this genuinely, and I will tell you this face to face if you want to meet up, because I think that the work that you do is not just bad. I think that the way that you disrespect just the experience of life and the way that you flatten really, really meaningful experiences to wield as a cudgel against your imagined enemies, I think it's unconscionable. And when it comes to things that I don't like, normally I just leave it to the material itself and I, dunk on it. We love getting our dunks in.
Of course.
But I think that you, Matt, and again, I'm talking to you right now. I think that you have created something abhorrent. And I hope that if you are hearing me tell you this right now, I hope that you take a second for that to sink in and realize that that's not just me coming from a place of being like opposed to you on ideological grounds, although I am. I am opposed to your writing because I think that it hurts the world.
No doubt. No doubt. Do y'all have any last thoughts about this before we wrap this one up? Because I think that is as good a place to close that as anything.
Yeah.
Josh, you talk about stuff you like and don't like on your podcast, and you also have a new podcast. I would love for you to tell our listeners about it because I've really enjoyed both of your projects.
Yeah. So I co-host 2 shows, The Worst of All Possible Worlds, which I've been mentioning throughout this show. Not as intentional product placement, just because like I know that both of you listen to the show, so we have a shorthand
religiously.
and have been on the show, to be clear.
Yes.
And every week we talk about a different piece of media. We talk about the decisions made within that piece of media, as well as the things that led to its creation. We unpack the implicit and explicit narratives within the work. In that regard, I think we are much like your podcast. I think you should check us out. Worstpossible.world is our website. And you can just find us wherever you get your podcast, The Worst of All Possible Worlds. The second show that I co-host and started up more recently is called Ill Conceived. It's a podcast about natalism, the ideology that sees declining birth rates as the most important thing. And we every week talk about a different aspect of that project. And I co-host it with my friend June, who you might know as Juniper on the social medias. Basically, we do sort of a TikTok thing where the tick is me leading an episode about some aspect of the project's history, and the talk is June leading an episode about a present day aspect of the project. I think it's really good. We've been having a lot of fun with it so far. We are covering some really gnarly shit, but we do our best to keep it light, or as light as possible, as you can, I suppose. Again, that's Ill Conceived, and you can get it in wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, we enjoy both of the shows, and I got a note. You are now the second person to hit the milestone of being on our show 5 times.
Let's go.
You know what's crazy? Ted Decker is the second best person we've covered.
Who's number 1?
Omar Al-Akkad is easily the best person we've covered, like as an author.
Yeah, of course.
But Ted Decker, the shit we've covered is so bad that Ted Decker is probably number 2, and that is saying something.
We're due for something good. We're due for.
As in you and me. Yeah. Sorry, I think we were talking about your show, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, no, we've talked about like fucking Octavia Butler. No.
Yeah.
You coming on 5 times of the 5 people we've covered. I think somehow Ted Decker is in the upper level. That we've covered some really harrowing shit. Every Young Man's Battle. We've covered Compassionate Capitalism. And then American War was just great.
Can you rank them, by the way? Obviously, American War is number 1 with a bullet. But if you had to rank the other 4.
Number 1, American War. Number 2,
Black.
Ted Decker.
Yep.
Number 3, Compassionate.
I would put Every Young Man's Battle at 3 because it's more entertaining than Compassionate Capitalism.
Jacob won't.
No. Too much trauma.
That would never take that away from you.
I don't know. Compassionate Capitalism to me was more interesting than Sleepers. I got it through it easier. So I think Compassionate Capitalism 3, Sleepers 4,
and then
5.
Our boy Fred, number 5, obviously.
Fred. Fucking
holding it down.
Now that James Dobson is gone, Fred is my number 1. I'm checking the obituaries for.
Okay.
I gotta say. That's where I put it. But Josh, you've been on 5 times. When Aisha had been on 5 times, we gave her something. We're going to give you something similar. Do you have, I'm going to DM you on Discord this image because I don't know how to put fucking images in this chat.
Yeah, go for it.
This is from our friend Weedle Beetle, recommended to us by friend of the show, Tay, but we have made you a socialist shelf bust of your own.
My God.
So you can see it. Do you see it now?
Just firing up Discord here.
Yeah.
Downloading update 1 of 1.
Oh, Lord.
It's the Josh Bust update.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Yep. So
Oh, look at me.
you have
Classy as hell, huh?
Lenore, I think you described it as looks like a
Oh.
man who's written a treatise or two.
A treatise or two, mayhaps a monograph.
I will
So-
say this is very generous to my hairline, and I really appreciate that.
Well, we will. This will be featured in this week's episode art.
Wonderful.
So, folks, check out the episode art of this episode if you want to see it yourself. But we wanted to give that as a thanks. And if you want a bust of yourself, listeners, you have to be on the show 5 times.
That's right.
Which has been reached twice now. And our artists we have make you look hot. We've seen that. Aisha said the same thing about hers.
I'm looking good. I'm looking good. Even really, I think sort of captured that I am oftentimes wearing a zip-up hoodie with a t-shirt underneath. Even captured my style. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I have one thing I want to close this episode on that I didn't, like I said, I just wanted to share this. People Chapo Trap House doesn't need me to defend them, but I wanted to share one very particular thing. In 2020, I was a huge Bernie ride or die. I was in college. I worked so much on the campaign, and when it failed, that was absolutely devastating to me. And I know it was for so many people. And we have our criticism of Bernie, whatever. But like in that moment, that felt like the end of the world to me. It was deep COVID, whatever. And just because I didn't know what else to do, I was by myself in lockdown with one other person. I DM'd Matt Chrisman, and he DM'd me back within minutes, and he talked to just some 19-year-old for a long time about that there was hope, that Bernie is a guy, that there is a movement, that people are believing in socialism, and maybe it won't be through the Democratic Party, maybe whatever. We talked for a while, and he didn't know who I fucking was. And I don't know him as a guy. We never talked again after that, but like I find on a personal level, not just on an intellectual level, because that was genuinely meaningful to me. A book like this to be so fucking disgusting. And so obviously, shout out to him for that. And Gasda, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I mean, as in a political project, right? So with literary fiction, you have to give people something to latch onto, to interpret, to collaboratively retell and share. Like something with which to enrich the soul. And claiming the hegemony of the apolitical does not do that, right? He's fetishizing disengagement, detachment, disaffection, derision. He's saying that all there is to receive this world as he's decreed it and pithily commented on it. And that's not storytelling. That's not anything. You're just auditioning for the role of court jester.
And all you're doing is giving yourself multiple outs to cover your own ass, right? Like, oh, I didn't mean that you should be like this. I'm critiquing these characters. I think, whatever, man, say what you mean and say it with your whole fucking chest. Stop trying to hide the goddamn ball.
Absolutely. So on that note, we will conclude this episode of Socialist Shelf. Josh, thank you for coming on. And Lenore, you have anything funny to say at the end here?
Yeah, I'm giving up sleeping. If this is what the sleepers are all about, then, I want no part of it.
You heard it here first, folks.
I'll let y'all know how it goes.
Yeah, I think they should make a book called The Awakers.
Much to think about.
Got him.
See y'all.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Socialist Shelf Radio.